welcome back to the Proving Grounds. I'm Andrew. Today we're going to discuss the banning of President Trump on Twitter. And more precisely, we're going to talk about what that means in reality. What does it mean for society in general, the country, whatever you want to call it, that Twitter can just kick the president right off their platform and he has no real recourse. Well, to begin, I'm going to say it's a good thing. The reason why it's a good thing is because it shows there's still some freedom in this country when a company doesn't want to allow the use of its product by a certain individual, and they say, no, we are not going to allow you to use our product, period. You're done for now. Whether it's permanent, a couple days, whatever. When we use their product, we agree to the terms of service, and we agree that that's how it's going to be. It's their house. They make the rules. And point blank, it's all right. Now, when it happens to you, you get annoyed. Some people think, well, the president, he is too important of a person to be told he can't use that platform. He needs to reach the people. Okay. And who is the president exactly? Is he a king? No. The president is not supposed to be a king. He's supposed to be a person like the rest of us. He is an elected official, a bureaucrat we nominated to do a certain job. That's it. There's no divine mandate of heaven that says Donald Trump must have access to Twitter. In fact, as famous as Donald Trump is, even outside of being president, you telling me that he can't pick up the phone anytime he wants and have almost as many platforms as he wants? Public platforms. When I say public, I don't mean publicly owned. I mean platforms that reach millions of people. Even CNN, all these, or MSNBC, if he really wants to do an interview and go through the shellacking they're going to try to hand him, he can get on TV and he can speak to millions of people. Absolutely no excuse to say there's nothing else. There's plenty of other platforms. He's even said he's potentially working on his own platform. I mean, before he became president, he had a TV channel, Trump TV, he was going to unveil. And the only reason why that didn't happen was because he became president. But even if he wasn't the president, even if he was just Andrew from the Proving Grounds, okay, I get kicked off Twitter. Would I be annoyed? Yeah. Might I get emotional about it? Sure. Especially if I was one of these larger content creators that actually subsists off their work. You know, if my job and all my finances were tied into this endeavor, yeah, I'd be really upset. I'd be pissed off. Point blank, pissed off. But I would also have to stop and think about it. Okay? When you think about it, it's Twitter's platform. That company has spent timeless hours doing it all. I mean, think about it. The creator of Twitter spent how long just envisioning it, just the vision alone of that platform. Remember, because everything begins in your mind. So it's quite literally an intellectual property that they've been developing for years. All of everything that goes into Twitter, from the infrastructure of the physical company, the programming of the system, all the different things everyone loves about Twitter that's been evolving for years. That company has worked to produce all of that. To now say that the government should step in and say, no, we're going to force you to allow certain people to use this platform and not allow other people to, is ridiculous. I mean, would you want me to petition the government to force you to allow the usage of your house to a government agent anytime they demand it? Just walk into your house and be like, well, we're taking it over because we've decided there's a public good in this. And most of you'd say, no, stay out of my house. Right? If you're given the option, stay out of my house. If you're not given the option, you're going to get pissed. So, you know what? Twitter, the CEO, all the people running the show over there should be pissed that people want the government to step in and tell them how they should or should not manage their company. It's their property. Period. It's not a public square for all of us to gather and sing Kumbaya and get along. It's not a public square. It's a private park. It's more like a private park that we pay entrance fees to get into. Right? Then there's rules in those private parks. If you violate the rules, or codes of conduct, if you will, they will eject you out of there. It's no different. Before you say, oh, we don't pay for Twitter. Well, I mean, they mine your data and sell it. So in a way, you are paying them. So, I mean, really think about it. We really need to start thinking about what we're asking the government to do. Because when you come in and say, well, the government should take that over, what does that mean? We're going to nationalize social media. Just for starters, look at everything else they've been trying to nationalize. The more aspects of the economy that come under more and more government sway, those are the areas of the economy that do the worst, that have the most problems, end up with these giant bubbles that burst. And who ends up getting hurt by it? Us. Politicians, they write themselves exemptions to laws like the Affordable Health Care Act. Yeah, that's for you. You pathetic little peasants. You have the Affordable Health Care Act. We're going to keep our quote-unquote Cadillac insurance where we can keep everything we've got, plus our staff and our families, forever. Because shouldn't be subject to that bullshit. That's really what they're saying. I mean, but again, I digress. Bring it straight back to Twitter or Facebook or any other social media company. Do I like what the tech giants are doing? No, not necessarily. But who am I to tell them how they should or should not run their company? Okay? Any of these companies that are publicly traded, you got a problem? Buy stock. You buy enough of it, and enough of your buddies buy enough of it, go to a board meeting. Vote on some stuff. Make your voices heard. Or, hey, send them a strongly worded email. Say, hey, I'm pissed off. I'm leaving. Delete your account if it's that big a deal to you. For some people, it makes sense to do that. Some other people who make their, it's part of their livelihood, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do that. But even those people, and I'm sure they've already done it, I would urge them to find alternate places, because anytime you say something Twitter doesn't like, they may ban you for a couple weeks or forever, or pull videos or shadow ban you. So the only way you can guarantee the best chance of you getting your message out there or keeping in touch with your audience is to diversify, which any smart business person would tell you. Any entrepreneur would tell you, try to diversify. Don't be a one-trick pony. Even if that means you having a YouTube account, your Rumble, used to be Parler, your Twitter, your Minds.com, all that stuff. And there's way more out there. Right? And you know what? Let's be real. Donald Trump is not owed some oath of fealty by Twitter. I mean, he seems to think he's owed some oath of fealty by the Supreme Court justices that he nominated, because that's one of the things he was complaining about, right, at that rally that happened just before the riots, was what? Oh, the Supreme Court hasn't been going my way. After everything I did to make sure you get nominated, how dare you, basically? How dare you not vote my way? Well, that's not how it's supposed to work. The Supreme Court is not supposed to owe its allegiance to anybody. It's supposed to owe its allegiance to the Constitution, the oaths they've, made to uphold the Constitution. It's supposed to be a nation of laws, not people. And I know we've fallen quite short of that mark. But the good news is that we're still free, relatively speaking. You can still do things. You don't have to give the tech giants all this power over you. You don't. They don't have to have this power over you. All you have to be willing to do is unplug from it. Point blank. If enough people just get pissed off and say, you know what, I'm not using it, they're going to change their tune. At some point, they'll have to. But you also have to remember, Twitter's taking a hit in the stock market. But the chain of command there really doesn't care. I don't think they care right now. because this is a battle of ideologies. Okay, they have a certain ideological bent. Okay, obviously they sway more towards what we consider the left. I call it the authoritarian left. And obviously that's what they're into. That's fine. Pick a source of media that doesn't have an ideological bent. CNN, MSNBC, Facebook, Fox News, Newsmax, they all have, Breitbart, they all have their bent. Okay, they lean a certain way, and the difference is some platforms may be a little more honest about it. You know, at least with Twitter, even Facebook, YouTube, some Rumble, you know, you might be able to get snippets of news from some of these people. There are people out there putting out great content. And what's great about it is a lot of them really just tell you what they think. They throw some information out at you just like this. Then you can look it up and verify it yourself. Unlike your MSNBCs and your CNNs, where they like to tell you what's going on and what to think about it, right? They have all these little dog whistles and preemptory phrases that they use to make sure that you know you're supposed to be offended before they even say anything. So you know the content's offensive. That you know that this person that they're talking about is racist or horrible. You don't even need to know why. You already know they are. In a lot of cases, you already know why. Because they're evil, right-wing conservative racists, right? Just think about that for a minute. Okay, now, again, I'm not saying I like what Twitter does. I'm not saying it's good for their financial line, you know, but what do I know? Maybe they're trying to cull the herd a little bit and to call more of their, make it more of a safe space, an echo chamber for the authoritarian lefties so they feel more comfortable. Because nothing upsets an authoritarian like anyone that has a dissenting viewpoint. But I have to urge everyone, really think about it. Really think about it before you ask the government to step in. Okay, because they're going to screw it up. They screw up everything. And what ends up always happening is giant corporations like your Twitters, your Facebooks, your Google, your Amazon, they're going to be fine. It's someone like you or me or some 13-year-old sitting there right now coming up with an idea in his head who would be starting their own business out of their garage who won't be able to. They'll just be crushed by regulations. That's what always happens. They create all these layers of bureaucracy and regulation, which always means what? More money for you, the little guy, and you can't keep up with it. So what do? They price you right out of the market before you ever even get into it. That's what will happen if you nationalize social media. Not only that, you're creating a real monopoly at that point. What is a monopoly, right? It's the total control of an aspect of the economy, right? Who has the real monopolies? The government. It's a government-controlled thing, really. Because in a free market, in a free society, you can't have a truly coercive monopoly. Why? Because there is nothing stopping you from creating a competing product. And before you point out, I just made a video about Parler, they're going to be fine if they stick with it. That's what I wholeheartedly believe. Because what do you see here? Okay, you have these authoritarian lefties icing a company out because it's perceived conservative ties, right? Let's not forget, Parler isn't some new platform that just popped up with some Richard Spencer guy in the background waving a flag. Okay, it's been around for a couple of years. It just started finally gaining traction. And I'm sure a lot of the people jumping to that platform are people that keep getting kicked off Twitter for saying things Twitter doesn't like. And so what? The reality was Twitter saw competition and didn't like it. Not only that, they want to control the flow of information. Duh. I mean, who actually thought that wasn't a thing? Okay, it's no different than when the big three automakers used to ice out its competition. But if they stick with it, other platforms will come up that will help them. Someone is going to see a need for there to be internet service providers that will provide service to companies like Parler that keep getting iced out by other providers. And then same thing with cloud storage and everything else. Will it take time? Sure. Will they have to deal with logistical nightmares and technological nightmares in the meantime? Sure. But what company doesn't deal with a lot of these things? Well, you think, I don't think the people running the company are ready to just give it up, just going to throw in the towel, be like, I'm done. I mean, there's a lot of people that were looking at this company to become $1 billion corporation. So, I mean, if you have people with that kind of drive working for this company, trying to build it up, they're not just going to throw in the towel so quickly just because Google said, well, we don't like you, or Amazon says you can't use my cloud storage. They will find someone willing to help them out, willing to make a deal. And that's the beauty of the market. Where there's a void, someone's going to come in to fill that void. What can't happen is we can't allow the government to come in and decide who gets to have social media licenses, because that's what's going to happen. They'll create a social media registration. You have to get a license. It'll be some exorbitant fee. Forget that. We don't want that. And don't forget, why are we worried about these app stores anyway? All it is a little icon that links you to a website. What? That didn't exist before the app stores? No. These companies are just really good at funneling the supply line right through their domain. Really, it's genius the way they have everyone, almost anytime someone thinks something, hey, I got an app, they go to an app store, whichever one's their favorite, and if they don't find it there, they're like, oh man, I can't find this app. What happened to that? Well, why can't I get my hands on it? Well, just go on the website. What? I got downloaded from a website? What? We've gone backwards a little bit. It's all because we've been conditioned to go straight to the store, straight to Google Play, straight to Apple Store, straight to Samsung Galaxy Store, right? It's genius, really. It's a great marketing ploy. Get everyone thinking about my store, come to me first. Same thing with Amazon. How many people can't find anything unless they go to Amazon, right? Or Walmart, or Target. So if you know that, and you don't want, you don't want to be burdened by it, get away from it a little bit. Support some of these platforms and companies that are getting away from a little less decentralization, if you will, or a little more decentralization, I should say. Just don't get bound up with getting the government to do it for you. This isn't a government issue. No one's using force. Like, Twitter didn't send out its private security force to go assassinate somebody. Like, Parler and Twitter didn't have a war in the middle of the street. Okay? With innocent civilians getting caught in the crossfire. No. Google didn't send, an assassination squad to go murder someone. Amazon didn't. Trump's not having to hire his own private security force to fight off the forces of big tech. So let's stop pretending that's the case. Because the real evil you want to invite into your home right now is the government. Because the government should not have control of all of these different media platforms. And that's what you're asking for. And that I don't support. I mean, that is the big silver lining in all of this. Is that the government doesn't have as much power as you think. And neither do these social media, or I should say these tech giants. They have a whole lot of power, but they're huge corporations. And everything, sometimes it just seems like they're an insurmountable force, right? Oh, man, how do we get around all this? There are ways. Don't give up. If you're really worried about it, you're really thinking about these things deeply, then you're not going to allow this excuse of, oh, well, what can I do? There's plenty you can do. And it starts off with one person. And some of that's just talking to your friends, making a move, saying, hey, you know what? I don't like what's going on this platform. I'm done. When everyone asks, hey, how come you're not on Twitter book tweet face? And you go, well, this is why. Boom. Oh, wow. It puts the seed in someone else's head. Or you go to a different platform. You have the choice. There's absolutely no excuse for you to sit around and go, well, Facebook sucks. Twitter sucks. Google sucks. But I'm going to use all those platforms. Oh, I hate Amazon. But every time I go to buy something, I'm going to buy on Amazon because it actually is the best way for me to get my stuff. The cheapest. So you hate these companies, yet you use these companies all the time and refuse to do anything but give them your money, give them your time, give them your information to sell. No, that's really the hypocritical thing to do. Sit around and say, they're so evil. I can't believe they get away with doing stuff. I shouldn't have to follow their rules. They should be forced to change their rules for me. Okay? And then get mad when someone else says, well, Andrew at the Proving Grounds, I don't like what he does. So you know what? I shouldn't have to deal with that and let him just coexist peacefully with me. So I'm going to petition the government to force him to do what I want. Because the second it happens to you, all of a sudden it becomes, oh wow, this really sucks. No, the government shouldn't be able to tell me what I want to do, or what I should be able to do, or who I do it with, or who I trade with. Yet, all these people have no problem asking the government to do it on their behalf when it comes to the big tech giants. And truth be told, a lot of that just happens to come from good old-fashioned envy. People are envious of these companies and the people who work for them, the people who've created these platforms, who become billionaires, and they're jealous that they can't do it too. The reality is, you could do it, right? You potentially could do it. There's nothing there preventing you from going out there and starting the next big tech startup other than your intelligence, your hard work, your skill set. That's it. Where there's a will, there's a way. Obviously, you need to have the talent to go with it. Not everyone can be that talented, driven, right? And probably just a little bit lucky. So that's really what I got for you today. I want you to realize you have freedom. So use it. Try to use it intelligently. Think about the things you want in your life and go get it. There's absolutely no excuse for you not to empower yourself to reach your maximum potential, to live your best, most thriving life. Okay, that's really what you should be doing, in my opinion, such as it is. So with that, don't forget, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let me know how I'm doing. Please subscribe and share this to all your friends. Feel free to hit me up. There's multiple platforms. They'll all be in the links below. And have a good night.